everything is just like 100% bad. Sometimes it's like half and half.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was good and it turned bad. Sometimes it's bad and it turned good. And I feel like the only thing we can do is just try to be more aware of what we're doing if we're trying to help or if we're trying to not help.
Yeah.
So we just don't regret like doing that later.
Hi, I'm Alden. Welcome back to the ChattyAF podcast. Today we have a new guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Vienna from the English department, and I am a Pisces.
Yeah. This is cool. I don't know if we've ever had anyone from the English department specifically on the pod, so this will be really cool.
Thank you. I have no idea, but I was recommended by a friend, so.
Yeah. Shout out, Steven. Thank you for the recommendation. And I wanted to ask you, since we talked about it a little bit, how has your time at NCU been with the English department?
Oh, it has been definitely fun. I love doing theater in general, so having the chance to get in theater and also like Shakespeare, it has been a very fun experience. And since I've been in NCU, I've participated in 2 senior English plays, which are Holy Crab and Filial Cannibalism. And in between them, I did a play called Night Mother for a class called Literature and Theater. And I think I've done something for the French department and as well somewhere in the middle, but I can't recall.
Okay,
but
sure. That's sick. I've never had like a thespian on the podcast before. I used to, former theater kid here as well. I was curious, when did you start doing theater?
I started doing theater in middle school. It counts as middle school in the States, but I was in the States, and I went to a school in New Jersey where our middle school started from the 6th year to the 8th year. So in middle school, then I had the chance to do Canterbury Tales. I was a rabbit. I had no idea what we were doing because I read Canterbury Tales later. I read the Miller's Tales in a class, and that was very PG-18. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I was just a rabbit running around on a farm, and that was it. And then for Narnia, which was my second play, it was Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. No, it wasn't. It was the Charlotte's Web. I did the Charlotte's Web musical in 6th grade, and then Narnia. But I was just all small actors. And then I came back and did Shrek Jr. in my middle school. I went to middle school in Taoyuan, and then in NCU I did these theaters.
I got you. Okay, fantastic. I mean, that's so interesting. Shrek Jr. Can you elaborate? Was that in Mandarin?
That was in English.
It was English,
for
okay.
I think they're supposed to be called language advanced classes, but we did a musical in English. Someone had to get a bald cap and paint themselves in green for Shrek himself. And then we had 3 Fionas because it was like young Fiona and then the middle-aged Fiona and then the older Fiona. It's kind of like a 8, 12, 18 kind of thing.
Interesting.
And they had really fun songs. I really enjoyed hearing the 3 Fionas sing together. Unfortunately, I wasn't a Fiona. I was a big bad wolf.
Oh, okay.
And then I had this scene where my apron was supposed to rip apart from both sides. So someone would take the threads of my apron from both sides of me and then rip it apart. And I would be like, ah. And I also did Wendy in the same show because I just had 2 different costumes. It was a very fun experience, to say the least.
No, I mean, the way you're describing it is so, like, I love that for you. And that's so entertaining because I've never seen Shrek the musical.
Right.
It's always been sort of like a running meme in the U.S. So, actually knowing someone who's done the show before and having no context and hearing about that one scene, it's like, yeah, sounds about right.
I was doing actresses for most of the time, but for Filial Cannibalism, which was my latest play, it is up on YouTube, but I was a stage manager, so it was a more back crew kind of situation. I was above the audience, and then I would have like a really cool intercom, and then I would speak into the microphone like, oh, light cue, sound cue, and then whatever.
Oh, nice.
It felt like
a kid in a candy shop
yes,
running around with
I had
very
to
advanced
put on my
materials.
big girl pants.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh my God. Right. It was a very fun experience, and one of my seniors, Kelly, she wrote her own script, which was a first-time thing for English plays. And she also had the script in Chinese and Taiwanese, which was also a first-time thing because English department theater play. But I think what's more important in a senior play is expressing who we are and what we see in the world, because I think that's just what theater is. We have a power to express what we see and say what we're trying to say.
Yeah, no, definitely, for sure. You know, I always thought theater was a really fantastic way to develop like so many different skills all at the same time, because it's interpersonal and communicative, but it's also like athletic if you include dancing. You know, it's musical, of course, if you include singing. It's just so much wrapped up into one that I think it's something that like every kid should at least try a little bit of. When it comes down to it, what was your favorite part of being an actor?
I don't know if I'm just narcissistic, but I like the idea of the clapping. So it's like it feels like after running a marathon, everyone's clapping for you, because even though a play might be like an hour or an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the most, it's a lot of preparation. We usually start from like December the year before, and then all the way at least half year where we're all just practicing. And it's not like every day, but each session will be like 4 hours. So it would be, say, a week, and then we have 2 days where we have 4 hours. So we have to stay in the classroom to practice. It's a lot of time, I think. And it takes a while to really get to know your characters and try to make it live on stage. And it's really satisfying to receive the claps of the audience. And from the achievement feels really nice.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, that's like any answer is valid, so don't worry about it. But I mean, yeah, I think that's like definitely a huge part of like, you know, the reward of like all your hard work and being able to communicate with that amount of people as well. When it came to being a stage manager, what was your favorite aspect of being a stage manager, sort of behind the scenes?
I think I really liked being able to get to know everyone a lot more, because being actors or actresses usually don't have that much time to really get to know everyone. It's kind of like a little bubble, and maybe the costume department would be within that little bubble, but everyone else seems like kind of farther away, even though we're obviously still together as a group. But as a stage manager, I had more chances to get to know people in like the lighting, the sounds, the stage crew in general. And it was really satisfying to see everyone's design come to life, because everything is on paper before it can be like become physical, from like the last month to the last week before the final performances. So you would be able to see the progress from like 10 to 30 to like 80. And I think it's really satisfying. I'm really proud of the people who've done the plays.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always so nice to like see a project that you've like put so much effort into like really come alive, and then see people like, you know, live up to their potential as well. No, that's fantastic. That is so cool. You know, it's fascinating because not a lot of people who I've met in Taiwan have a super strong connection to theater. You know, I've met a lot of musicians. I've played with a lot of musicians. I know a lot of people who like dancing. You know, like street and pop dance is incredibly popular, like all throughout Taiwan. But specifically theater, is, for me at least, something that I haven't met that many people who are kind of into it. So I'm curious, like, what brought you to eventually pursue theater as one of your passions?
I'm honestly not sure about like the real origin. I think it was in middle school when I started, so it was probably just like the school announcement. So I was like, oh, there's going to be an audition for the play, and I just got interested, and then I just went. And because back then in middle school, even though everyone's auditioning for actors and actresses, you all get a part, which is why some parts are kind of small, but everyone's important. And for NCU, it was in one of my service learning classes. I was a freshman then, and then the directors for Holy Crap, they came to share that they were doing the auditions for the play for both actresses and actors and stage crew. So I'm not sure if it was the script that drew me in, because Holy Crap is a very New York but Asian in New York kind of thing, because it was about Chinese people going to America, and it was like a whole entire immigrant thing. It's really great. It's also on YouTube, but I think it was just them talking to us and then sharing the experiences of the English department play, because they've done a few before. I think they're called A Streetcar Named Desire and God of Carnage. And I just got really interested, and I decided to audition, and then that just kind of started my journey.
Right. Okay. Fascinating. Have you ever wanted to be an actress before?
Yeah, I actually really wanted to be an actress. It was like the first year of high school, but I think during the finals of the same year, where I was looking at my grades, and then I was like, where am I going to get a job with grades like this? And I wasn't really interested in studying. Oh, that sounds kind of bad, but so I had this struggle where, yes, I want to be an actress, but I don't feel like my grades can get me anywhere. But at the same time, I feel like studying wasn't really my thing. So I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. So I just kind of put off that aside. And I kind of just do it as a hobby now, because I think the senior plays and what I did in middle school are very different things, because, you know, it's middle school. Besides from the fact that we have a family consumer science class teacher, an FCS teacher, who helped us make the costumes, that was like the most professional thing out of everything, because we didn't really have to learn anything, and we didn't really have acting classes in middle school.
I see, yeah.
But in senior plays, we have actual actors coming to teach us.
Wow.
And there's like professional teachers coming to teach about stage crew, and everything just feels very professional. So although I try my best, it still feels kind of like I'm meddling in a group of professionals. And it's kind of scary, because I don't want to drag anyone back, but at the same time, I think I am trying my best. So I don't know if that met their expectation. I hope it did, but
I see. No, I mean, it's like, to truly like be an actor and live that lifestyle is very different from, you know, just wanting to do the job. I mean, you can get there eventually, but are you actually going to enjoy that kind of life? You know, it's like, I mean, these are all things to kind of consider, you know.
Sometimes I look at Taiwan in like the actors and actresses in Taiwan, or the general group, and then I just kind of feel like I can't really fit in there somewhere, because I don't know if it's just general where like mainstream's going, but a lot of Taiwanese stars or celebrities, they have to go to China to have a better career, which honestly I don't blame them, but at the same time I don't think that's what I want. So.
Right, like the need to like literally pack up and go somewhere else so that you can make more money.
Yeah.
No, it's unfortunate. You also did mention your time in the States. Were there any highlights from that? What was your experience like?
I was in the States from first grade of elementary school until 8th grade, but it was like the middle of 8th grade. But in those 5 years, I think I really had a very happy childhood there.
Good.
Because I really like snow, and it doesn't snow in Taiwan, but the snow was really fun. And I remember we would have a snow break if the snow exceeded like, I think it was like 2 to 5 inches. I don't really remember, or was it 10 inches? It was because we don't have to clean the school in elementary school and middle school, and they had hired janitors. We had like these two very nice gentlemen who would help clean around the school, but I think it was for safety precautions. I always thought it was because the janitors might not be able to clean the roads in time for us to safely get to school. But I think it was also like just for safety. But we have a day off, and then I would be able to get into my jacket and then just plop into the snow.
Yeah.
And my mom would make us like hot chocolate. It would just be like the American movies.
Yeah. No, I got you. We love snow days. For sure. It's fantastic. And so you've had this like really cool American experience. You've had this time acting, and you've had your time here at NCU, which has sounded really fruitful. What do you think comes next?
Oh, gosh. I think there's this really common concern for humanity departments, like not even English, but maybe in like the Chinese and the French department, maybe, on what we want to be in the future. Because our jobs are not that straightforward, because like I love Shakespeare, but what am I going to do with Shakespeare after I graduate? I was really seriously considering being a stage manager after I graduate, but I feel like the job was really taking a strain on my mental health, so I wasn't sure if that's what I really wanted. I think it's good that I already know I have this problem, so at least I have 2 more years to try to figure it out.
I see.
But there's a lot of possibilities. Who knows? Maybe I'll get someone to fund me and open a bakery sometime.
Yeah, hey, sure. I mean,
because honestly, baking is like the easiest thing compared to all these tests and like figuring about the future and stuff.
No, for sure. And I mean, there's this aspect of also like, you know, even if you don't do theater, even if you don't do anything related to Shakespeare, your life can still benefit from it, even if you are just baking, because if you either own a shop or work in a store, the communicative skills that you get from working in theater or being a stage manager, you know, the sort of multitasking with, you know, talking to one actor and the director, the lighting person, the sound person, you know, giving people tasks to do, understanding people's strengths. I mean, you can use all of these skills, even if you're just running a bake shop or something along those lines. Again, I really like theater because it has so many aspects of skills that even if you don't do theater as a job, you're still gaining athleticism, musicality, communication, and like in some cases empathy. So it's like, I think it's a very worthwhile endeavor, even if you don't go into it. Because I also was a history major, and what I do is, for my job now, I do have some lessons based on history. I do have some workshops based on, like, you know, American musical history. Shout out to our dear friend Savannah at NSYSU, who helped me. Well, actually, she was the one who originally created it, and I sort of repurposed it for NCU. But yeah, like, I mean, it's the sort of thing where, like, I'll sometimes, like, go to the library or go to the archives if I need to find something about like history, if I want to teach a workshop about that. So, you know, the skills are still being applied here, even if I'm not a history teacher.
The humanities is very important to study, especially with how mainstream seems to be heading in the direction right now with like the whole entire AI thing. And then there is this fact that it feels like war is heading onto us soon, because apparently Russia is threatening to attack Europe, and then there's this whole idea that Trump apparently doesn't want to help, which is kind of scary, because if World War III breaks out, then where does that place us? In China. But I think it's been there for a while. I don't think I'm the first year kids to, or people to feel like war is breaking out, and then there's this whole entire thing of COVID, and COVID is also coming back, which is weird, but
yeah. Again, can you imagine if we were all engineers and if we were all just put into, you know, the sciences and or maths? You know, we wouldn't have enough people to work in diplomacy. We wouldn't have enough people to work in, those sort of, you mentioned COVID, those essential jobs, which, again, like we need these things, and we sometimes need it more than, just chip manufacturing or just X or just Y. It's like these jobs are just as important, even if they're not considered hard or like challenging. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done farming or maintenance or honestly like education. It's not as easy as it sounds. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you can like necessarily teach it,
Right.
And when it comes to war, again, we need more theater kids. No, not exactly, but like we need more people who are willing to take on the skills of a humanities major to be able to communicate in multiple languages,
Right.
and understand multiple different cultures so that we can avoid war, so that we can pivot out of war. There's this business of the United States being a country that is made up of people from all these different cultures and all these different, but we never give credit to people who actually try to understand them and make it work. We give credit to corporations. We give credit to folks who develop, tools which are usually then used to exploit others, but we don't actually celebrate those who attempt to make humanity stronger.
I mean, capitalism.
You just put that in the thumbnail. Don't worry about no faces, just black background, white letters, capitalism.
I have a professor that had us read, I think it was Communism Manifesto in one of our classes. It doesn't sound as communist as it sounds, but it was really funny as a freshman in one of my mandatory classes. And then this professor was like, oh, you must read Communism Manifesto. And then it's like 100 pages. The words are so tiny, and I have no idea why I have to read it, but it does makes me understand capitalism a little bit more.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, there are, of course, plenty of ways that we can criticize, Marx, but at the same time, the aspect of diving into Hegelian dialectics and, this idea of the fact that, and do not just do things for profit, they actually, provide something of value where other people just have a lifestyle that is all about profit, that is all about exploitation. They don't actually do anything. They don't actually provide anything of value, yet they have all the resources. They have all the capital. Yeah. No, I mean, it's what I also try to do sometimes after reading that book is I've really tried to understand the difference between personal and private. It's like, no, we're not coming to take your guns. We're not coming to take your, house. We're not coming to take your property. We're trying to eliminate something that you use to make money from other people's labor that they then don't get paid for.
Yeah.
It's so challenging because so many people hear that word and they just think, oh, it always fails. It's always bad. Don't look at the history of Venezuela. Don't do that. Don't look at the fact that it was kind of low key working in Chile for a little while. Don't look at any of the extraneous details. It always fails. Mark Fisher, Capitalist Realism. Check it out.
We actually had to read that as well.
Nice,
but,
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all dystopians started with a promised utopia, so.
Sure. Yeah.
And also with the trends with over-consumerism and fast fashion, which has been going on for a while now. But I do have to admit, I am guilty of watching those packing videos where there's restock videos.
The unpacking videos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of makeup. I also buy a lot of makeup myself, but anyways, it is honestly kind of satisfying, but at the same time, I'm becoming more aware of the over-consumerism that I'm actually living in because of a lot of single-use products, but I don't know if it's enough to just realize that I am doing this because I'm honestly not sure how I can help if there is any way I can help.
Yeah.
But trends come and go all the time, so I feel like because I'm not really one to post videos on social media, also I do post photos, but I just don't usually post videos. So, and I'm not really like an influencer or anything. So I feel like I am just a bystander watching all the trends go by, even though I technically am a participant because I do watch videos even though I don't post them myself.
The most successful way to like actually sort of get things done in terms of, you know, shifting away or pivoting away from consumerism and towards more sustainable trends, it really always comes down to a group of people's ability to organize, which of course, always easier said than done. And it's the sort of thing where when you actually want to try to change something, it's like these little tiny little pieces of like, okay, we roll this back and now things are slightly better. And that's after how long? Oh, 2 years of collective organized resistance, you know. It's challenging, but the only way to do it is to create a sort of culture of going to an organization of people, learning about how you can actually like book venues, for example, how you can help communicate with other people in terms of getting the word out, how you can, you know, help with raising awareness, and then not only that, showing up and collectively protesting. You know, of course, protesting is not always successful.
Right.
You know, there are plenty of times when it fails. There are plenty of times when sustained effort dies out. You know, we look at the Black Lives Matter movement, which, again, not too many people know this, but that had been a thing well before 2020. It's just that the sustained effort and the culture surrounding it was really strong after the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And it's the sort of thing where, yes, it eventually did die out, and it eventually was co-opted by the Democrats. But you know, it's the sort of thing where, yeah, like, it's hard. It's challenging. It sucks. But it's the only effective way to ever get anything done. I mean, there's a reason we have a 5-day work week and not a 7-day work week.
Right.
And it was because people got agitated and they did something about it. Yeah. Of course, like, don't just listen to me. Obviously, yeah, that goes for you too, viewer. You know, do your own research. But from what I can tell, from what I perceive, this is the way to get it done. Influencers aren't going to save us. Taylor Swift isn't going to save us. K-pop stars aren't going to save us. The Democrats aren't going to save us. Governments, the state, no. It's always people organizing for sustained periods of time.
I think for a lot of my classes, I'm actually not sure why I'm learning it until a while later. Like, I wasn't sure why I had to read about Communist Manifesto until like second year.
Yeah.
But in one of my classes, I also learned about it was what's the word? Performative wokeness. I was just writing it because of like the whole Black Lives Matter thing. And
yeah, sure.
It's kind of funny to see this, I guess. And I feel like after learning, I catch myself sometimes maybe performing a little bit because I am often trying to be a people pleaser, but I feel like at the same time, I want someone to please me at times. Because sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm so tired. Oh my God. And then I have to do all these work and I just don't want to face it. Right, I catch myself feeling like, oh, I wish someone just complimented me because it really helps, I think, just like giving compliments. But anyways, performative wokeness is really hard to distinguish what's good and bad from start, I think. But
it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of research.
And not everything is just like 100% bad. Sometimes it's like half and half.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was good and it turned bad. Sometimes it's bad and turned good. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the only thing we can do is just try to be more aware of what we're doing if we're trying to help or if we're trying to not help.
Yeah.
So we just don't regret like doing that later.
No, sure. I mean, and I think the whole aspect of performative wokeness is, like, it's important to talk about it. I would say that, like, yeah, of course, I do stuff like this too. And it's the sort of thing where there's a period that, you know, again, it's not like okay, now it starts and now it's done. I am done being performatively woke. I think it's more like something where you constantly check yourself. Like, what is the reason I'm doing this? Am I actually doing this to raise awareness? Is this actually raising awareness, or is this just like, am I just posting this thing because it's the thing to do right now? You know, or am I actually trying to get the word out and then I'm going to follow this up with something that's going to hopefully make meaningful change? You know, there's this idea of sort of a transition period where it's like you might feel guilty about something. Maybe you do incredibly useful things, but still feel guilty about it. You know, like this is usually in terms of like white folks and like white guilt, but I do think it applies to other people too. I mean, in Taiwan, there are indigenous people, there are like migrant workers, and I'm sure that for those who want to do something and initially just kind of feel bad about it and don't know what to do, I'm sure there's some different type of performative wokeness there as well. But there's this idea where you can actively transition out of the sort of guilty, like performative phase and into like actually doing something. And I'm sure the timeline looks different for a lot of people. I am still in the process of transitioning out of it for sure. It takes time and it takes effort that we don't always have the energy for.
I feel like there's always this secondhand embarrassment after I realized that I was performing, because I feel like not everyone meant to perform, because I generally don't think a lot of people have just pure bad intentions, but sometimes they don't mean to perform, but it takes a bit for them to realize that what they're doing isn't actually doing good, but instead it's just performing. But I feel like it's just a process where everyone has to be patient with both themselves and others.
Yeah, no, certainly. I understand why it's harder for other people who actually have to live with the conditions, you know, like I understand why they're not patient, and I don't blame them for not being patient. But for other people who are going through that struggle, like people like me, it's important for a person like me to be incredibly empathetic to those who are also going through that, and who are also going through that, you know, sort of transitional period. Like, do I actually think that the black squares did anything? You know, like the Blackout Tuesday or whatever it was back in 2020, posting a black square on your Instagram. Like, obviously that did nothing. There was no point. And that was embarrassing, you know. And even though I wasn't the one who did it, I'm also not going to be the person who flames those people for doing it, because I understand that at that time a lot of people were quickly digesting information that they were like, wait a minute, this exists? That was a thing? You know, their education system didn't teach them that. And while, yes, I'm sure they had some kind of exposure to it, when you're in a culture that's just recycling and regurgitating old white supremacist nonsense, it's very challenging to get out of that. So while, you know, I understand why other people don't give them that grace, and I don't blame them for not giving people that grace, I should, and I think I will, you know.
Yeah, social media was like a rather new thing, at least for me, growing up. And this is kind of funny, but I have to make this clarification every single time I talk about this. But there's TikTok, and then there's Chinese TikTok, Douyin. And TikTok turned from Musical.ly to TikTok when I was a child. It was, I think, 2014.
I actually remember that. I was tutoring some students back in the States, and they were like, we're making a Musical.ly. Can you help us film a Musical.ly? I was like, what is that? You know,
Yeah, it was just like lip singing stuff. And I remember making Musical.lys. This is bad, but I did make them when I was a child. And it was the time where it just turned to TikTok, so it didn't seem as it is now, because I feel like the TikTok that it is now has kind of grown in a really weird way. Because technically, if we're gonna put it that way, I was a TikTok child, because I did use TikTok when I was a child, and it did start when I was a child. So I think the TikTok back then was about like fact sharing and dances, but not very revealing dances, just like fun dances that kids do, and also lip singing and stuff. It wasn't as harmful as it is, because I do have to agree, it is kind of brain rotting nowadays.
It's the app design. I mean, if you were to regulate it in such a way, you could have longer form content, like get rid of this element, you know, where it's like 6 seconds and then I'm just like scrolling through, or like a minute, you know. Like there's this idea of you have longer form content, and you have it fact-checked and regulated by multiple sources. If there is something that's wrong with it, you have a disclaimer. And the disclaimer pops up before you can even view it. You have to like dismiss it or something. Or there's a timer that you have to like look at it. Basically, the app needs to slow down and it needs to be checked. And unfortunately, that kind of model does not sell. So I don't see it changing anytime soon, but that would be one way to make it better.
It would just be a different form of YouTube, but then it wouldn't be able to replace YouTube, which is why it wouldn't sell. But I feel like the whole entire fact is kind of like a double-edged sword. I feel like, yes, I can learn a lot of things from just like videos in general, but then I feel like a lot of people have to take it with a grain of salt. This is by no means an offensive comment, but I had a friend who changed their religion to Christianity because of TikTok. I see no problem in changing religions, but because of TikTok, maybe there was something happening there. It makes me question whether it was kind of brainwashing her, or she just agreed with the content so much, or whatever happened. But
it's like, well, the app itself does not have this hypnotic quality of like, you are now a white Christian national. And it's not like that, but there is this aspect of what is going to get clicks, what is going to get clicks, and what is going to basically be on your For You page, whether you want it or not. It's just anything that gets clicks, anything that is outrageous, anything that inspires anger or disgust or fear, and anything that, again, is just generally popular. But what is getting popular, what is getting attention is, like a lot of white beauty standards, Christianity, because again, what's happening in the West, it's this aspect of like, you get clicks if you play on people's most basic human emotions. You're not addressing the prefrontal cortex, you're addressing the brainstem, the cerebellum. It's very immediate. It's this idea of, I want to quickly hook you in, I want to quickly give you an idea that you don't have to chew on or digest. Just know that it feels bad. Feels bad, click on it, and then keep doing it.
It's like rage bait. And I think social media did wreck with a lot of child's self-esteem because of the whole entire beauty standard thing. And then there's like this ASMR, tapping the mic, which you definitely should not do, by the way. And
oh yeah, not me doing ASMR before 3 times.
I mean, speaking in the microphone is one thing, but I think tapping is another thing, because tapping is definitely no for a lot of theater people, because it definitely wrecks with the mic system.
Oh, actually, I didn't know that.
You're not supposed to tap it, but you can speak into it, obviously, as close as you want.
Okay. I didn't know.
And yeah, it's just a lot of taking what information that you want, and also the algorithm, and who decides the algorithm, and who decides what gets to be seen and what doesn't get to be seen, and how that's fair.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, regulation is the name of the game, and actually, like, giving people a chance to chew on ideas and content. This idea of, instead of just watching another one immediately after, I watch something, then I reflect on it, then I think about where it could maybe be misleading, where it's definitely accurate, and where it's definitely true. And then after thinking about it for a while, then you can go on and compare it to something else. But, this idea of just constantly consuming information and then not doing anything with it is not very helpful for anyone. Because, I mean, again, it also is counterproductive to organizing, like we talked about before. You need to, as much as you possibly can, be present, as much as you possibly can, like, communicate with people and book those venues, book those, like, spaces, have a schedule where you're going to walk when you're protesting, schedule, a coordinated effort to make evasive maneuvers if for whatever reason a counter protest occurs or the police are attacking you for no reason in some case. So that sustained effort is very challenging when you are programming yourself to just quickly consume and then burn out. It leads to a form of burnout. and regulation. And in this case, I really think, I don't love the idea of hyper-individualism, but I do think as individuals, it's important for us to self-regulate, because it's not like any of these other huge companies, whether it be X or whether it be, Meta or, TikTok, it doesn't matter. They aren't going to regulate. We need to start self-regulating as much as possible. So good luck out there. Try theater if you can. It'll help you sustain your attention span. Vienna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to tell the viewers?
Actually, if there are any senior plays, welcome to join us. We welcome people of all majors.
Fantastic. Give it a shot. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll catch you in the next and last episode of the ChattyAF podcast. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
I was a stage manager, so it was a more back crew kind of situation. I was above the audience, and then I would have like a really cool intercom, and then I was speaking to the microphone like, oh, light cue, sound cue, and then whatever.
Oh, nice.
It was kind of like, it felt like a kid playing with adult toys and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Oh my God, not adult toys. I'm sorry.
No.